Gonna be gross. That's just nasty. Nasty.
Oh, good morning, everybody. We are here November 4th on this beautiful Saturday morning. Thank you so much for joining us and tuning in. Got my guy Mo, who's a staple on CU Sunday, he has a perfect record so far. And then my guy Chris, president of the network, is joining us because Ken knows that the Cowboys are about to get whooped this week. So he's just getting started. He's already hiding into the shadows early. Good for him. Getting the week started early. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good. I'm good. I haven't been on in a few weeks, so
yeah,
good to be back. My team's doing really well. So I felt like I need, the show needed my presence. After that amazing football game in overtime. I mean, talk about textbook football in that game last week.
Yeah, that's what.
Not sure which textbook, but I'm sure it's in one of them.
It's going to be in a textbook. Maybe not for good reasons, but it's going to be in a textbook because that's football back. It's set football back. Decades.
Watching worst games of the 2020s. Number one. But anyways, so got Mo, got Chris. We're gonna jump right on into it with what we do every week, starting off with these Off the Ball Network Power Rankings. Two of the contributors to these rankings are here with me. Once again, these are composite rankings. Us three and four others submit rankings who we believe is our individual 1 through 32. We take the average of them, and this is how we get. I might want to actually put it up on the screen, but this is how we get this here. So, Chris, I'm going to start with you. What is one of the things that jumps out to you initially about these rankings?
I like it. I think it's fair. I don't really. It's kind of what I had. So I'm not really. I mean, like every week, you can always couple teams here, up and down. But it just feels like, especially this season, it's like a very reactionary season where every week we're like, it just, I don't know, for some reason, where it's a week by week, and 1 week you'll feel good about a team, and then the next week like the Lions. I had the Lions won 2 weeks ago, and then they got drubbed by what, the Ravens and all that, and I was like, well, they're gonna go to the back end of like the top 10 and all that, but not that I predicted the 49ers like struggling, but now we see why, because the quarterback play isn't good. So, I almost thought about putting him even past the top 10 because the defense hasn't been good either too. Like their defense has struggled, but for the most part, I think this is relatively. It's weird seeing the Jets at 13 because I don't think they're the 13th best team and all that. But they're winning games. What they won 3-4 in a row. Yeah. And at the end of the day, a win is a win, regardless of how it looks and all that. So I think it's a relatively good list. So I don't got too much to trip about.
So, Mo, what stands out to you?
That I wasn't the only one that essentially had Dallas 5. Like, clearly for them to be 5th is like, mine could have been a little bit biased, and clearly everybody's kind of moved past that San Francisco loss. Like they let it go. Okay, we're still marching on. We understand it, but everybody making these rankings is not punishing Dallas for a loss 3 weeks ago. Also, I mean, you could, because San Francisco hasn't won a game. I'm kind of surprised San Fran ahead of Seattle. I know it's one spot, but I had both Seattle and Cincinnati ahead of San Fran. I mean, I had San Francisco at 11, so them at 9 is not crazy. But just on a 3-game losing streak at the end of the day, things aren't looking the greatest. Brock Purdy has come back to a human element that he's not perfect. And I think Seattle's really, really good. Like I wanted to put them ahead of like Buffalo, Detroit, and Jacksonville. Because I think the potential of Seattle is like really good. But we'll find out this week. That's a team that I'm really high on, but I'm also high on the Ravens. I think I had the Ravens like 2 or 3. But I'm high on both teams, and we get to see, like, I think both teams are elite, and we kind of, well, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit, but we get that matchup to see, like, if it's a down to the wire game. I hate the fact that both of those teams I'm very high on got to play each other. because somebody got to win, somebody got to lose. Please don't end in a tie. I hate ties in the NFL. I think it's the stupidest thing ever. And the way the Vikings have climbed back up is like even putting them at 20, I think is reserving the fact that they'll probably fall right back down because Kirk, the unfortunate, it looked.
I think that's why they're at 20. I think I would just, not to speak for everyone else, but I think most people had them low because of the quarterback situation now.
And Thursday night football happened, so things could change. But I think Pittsburgh belongs even after the win this past week. I think they're exactly where they're at. I think they're a middle of the pack team that just happens to have a really good record.
Yeah. Chris, you said it. Jets being at 13 is crazy. Again, just because with Aaron Rodgers going down 4 plays into the season, we really thought like this season was washed. Steelers at 16 and probably gonna be moving up, getting the win on Thursday night. It's weird.
What's that stat they have? They have a crazy stat.
They're the first team ever, or they're one of the teams. They're the first team ever that in 8 games through the season, they've been outgained offensively every time.
There we go. Yeah.
Every other team that's happened to, they've had a losing record. They're 5-3.
That's crazy.
5-3 I think with ESPN's FPI, I think 53% chance is what it was to make the playoffs. Which is
but they've
they
been
have a minus 30 point differential.
Yeah, they've been outgained in every game offensively.
That's a crazy stat. I saw that because if you're minus 30 point differential, you're probably the opposite record, right? 3-5, 2-6,
right.
Whatever.
It just kind of means you get blown out in your losses and barely win.
That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So these are the individual rankings right over here. So one thing I want to ask you guys: Eagles is the only unanimous one that we have. Are they just number one by default?
Yes, they have the best record in football. One loss.
Default, yeah.
I get
if you look at
it was a bad loss too because they should be mad at themselves because they should be undefeated. But Hurts played god awful against the Jets. But I think by default they're number one. That's what I'm saying. Every week is different because it's like we want we think the Eagles are going to take over, and then they even in their wins they don't. Some of them they haven't looked great and all that. But the 49ers were rolling, and then they've lost 3 in a row. The Dolphins got smashed twice. Against more physical teams and all that. So it's like it's a crapshoot. The top 10 could flip. By next week.
Philly was the only one I didn't have to think about this week. Like when I started the list and went 1, it was Philly, and then now like okay, let me think about this. I ain't think about Philly at number 1. I just put them 1. Like it was Eagles, and now I got to think a little bit.
I wanted to put the Dolphins at 1 when I was doing mine, just because I still think they're the better team. They're better, just on paper. They're obviously a better team, but with a head-to-head loss and the way the loss was, I couldn't, in good faith, put the Dolphins. But I do still think
really a better team.
Think so.
I don't. They're close, but I get what you're saying though. Like the Dolphins, I weigh a lot on the Dolphins of the fact that like they've beaten bad. All 6 of their wins are against bad teams. Their 2 losses are against Buffalo and Philly. Like you got pounded by Buffalo, and then you lost convincingly to Philly. Like your 2 good teams you played, and that could stand true this week. Like I'm sure that's another game we'll get into because that's one of the great games of the weekend. But like I think Miami has to win this game to be respected. Like really respected as a Super Bowl contender. I think they have to win this week.
Cowboys, myself, Mo, and Chris, the 3 of us here had Cowboys sitting at 5. The lowest one was Cole at 9. None of us, past the top 10. None of us put them below 10. But I think you're right, Mo. We are putting that Niners loss kind of behind us. If this was, I was thinking about this the other day. If this was college football, I think they'd be ranked lower just because of what the Niners look like now. The Cowboys losing to that team.
Yep, that's exactly how it goes. But what's crazy is the only thing I want to say about Dallas being at 5 is like for me being a Cowboys fan, it didn't feel right putting them at 5. But I'm looking at all the 2-loss teams, and I'm like, bro, just the way their defense is played and all this, I'm like, essentially they've been better. Like, yeah, they got blown out by the 49ers. But let's hold everybody's loss against them then. Like the Bills lost to the Jets. Let's play it that way. Right. And I know they lost to the Cardinals as well. That's a bad loss. That's unexplainable, inexcusable. But it's like, it's not the narrative that like I think everybody gave Dallas credit for beating the Rams the way they did. Like your thought process was like, yeah, because everybody on Friday, national media was like, oh, the Rams are good. They're picking the Rams. And then Dallas pounds them. And then they turn around and they're like, oh, this isn't really that good of a team, no. And Dallas shouldn't feel no type of way. Like they always have to play that card. So I'm at least at the network outside of Cole. It seemed like everybody gave them some type of respect from bouncing back and winning 2 games in a row after getting pounded by San Francisco.
And then Bengals, obviously, on the way up.
They climbing.
10th, 11th from Aaron. Jelani, 9.
That's a
Kenny,
massive
Chris Cummings,
climb.
11.
That's a massive climb.
I'm interested to see how we view Cincinnati if they win this weekend. That's what I'm interested. Where do we think Cincinnati goes? Even if they have 3 losses, like they win this weekend, they might be ahead of some of them 2-loss teams that we value. So I'm interested to see if Cincinnati's able to pull out this win on Sunday night, how we view them.
Yeah. So, and then I think I was kind of the wild card. I put the Raiders at 32 just because, that is such a shit show of an organization right now.
It's crazy, man.
I think they have a Rick Bisaccia situation on their hands, though.
Well, with Antonio Pierce, you think he can?
Yeah, like I just think we thought it was a wrap when Bisaccia took over when they fired Gruden. They snuck into the playoffs. I'm not necessarily saying they sneak into the playoffs, but I think this team's going to look a lot different, look a lot better.
I mean, if that happens, then you could see Antonio Pierce getting, basically fired, and then Al Davis going in, or I'm sorry, Mark Davis going and hiring like Ron Rivera, because that's what he did that year.
But do you think I think he fired Josh McDaniels based on noise from the fan base? And I mean, come on, we seen the videos, bro. They was dead in his face, sitting right below him, telling him, fire him, he's trash, Like, do you think he makes that same mistake twice? Now, if they absolutely just flank and stink, and guys are like, well, we want to play for this guy, but they stink, it's understandable. But like Bisaccia took him to the playoffs. Everybody wanted to play for him, this and that. And it was like, yeah, no, we're going to go get the golden boy.
It wasn't a sexy name. It wasn't sexy. And that's what the Raiders are about. They're about, having sex appeal essentially. But
especially being in Vegas now. Like
especially now they're in Vegas and now, but they're definitely not that. So it's just, there has to be it's internal. Who they remind me of the Knicks. They are the same way. They have an owner who just doesn't know what they're doing and just makes irrational decisions based off
money,
fan bases and money and all that. And it's just, that's not how you run an organization. You thought the Raiders may have figured it out finally, and then it's just like, no, it's just the same old Raiders. And it's just 3 winning seasons since they went to the Super Bowl in 2002. And you think going to Vegas they would change, but it's the same old Raiders and all that. They just it's just the same old, and it's sad because that's a rabid fan base. Like that's a hardcore fan base that cares about their team and all that. Like they travel well and all that, but it's like the Knicks. I always put the Knicks and the Raiders together because it's the same thing. They ran the same way and all that. Like the 20 years of not being good for the most part, but they have a great history, good fan base. And yet they're always getting their own way. They always get in their own way. Like Antonio Pierce can win 5 games, and like you said, Cruz, they'll hire Ron Rivera. And I love Ron Rivera, but that's not what you're supposed to do. Like they'll hire a cast-off coach.
Undefeated against him.
Yes, we tied too.
Like I said, undefeated,
never lost,
never lost. Might not always won, but you never lost.
And we never lost.
Oh, I can't stand that, man. Anyways, so we're gonna move on. So we got through the power rankings. Now we've touched on a few of these games already, looking at the power rankings. Well, I'm gonna start with you because I feel like you got 7 of them this week.
Dog, I'm not gonna go over all of them because y'all got bro. We're all watching the same games on Sunday, so I won't touch on one because it's my team. So I'm gonna just start it off. We all know we all waking up, starting the day, bro. You're gonna wake up in time. You're watching the Dolphins and the Chiefs. Like, let's be honest. You are so happy.
So you're gonna say Giants versus Raiders, but
God, yeah. It sucks that that's the game that's in Germany because like a lot of people have been saying, and I think I hate the fact that it's not here and there's a travel advantage, not to either team, but there's the traveling, playing overseas part to a game like this that's going to have implications that we might look back on 6 weeks from now, and that game could be the difference of who the 1 seed is and not, and who gets home field advantage throughout the playoffs coming out the AFC. But it's the Dolphins Chiefs, bro. Like, this is Tyreek Hill is playing against his former team. The Chiefs haven't been rolling offensively. Still a really good team. They're winning in a different way that we never thought we would see Kansas City win, which is defensively. We're going to see what they look like against a high-powered offense. We're going to see if, a defense that needs some juice added with Miami. We're going to see if Kansas City could get it back rolling against a defense like Miami, which can be had. Bro, this game is like, if there weren't so many games on worth watching, this would be the game of all games, and it would happen early Sunday morning. Like, it sucks for somebody like you, Rob. They got to wake up at like 6:30 to watch this game. Like, that sucks. But
you'll have enough energy for Raiders Giants though. So yeah, there you go, Bruce.
Yeah, this is the game of games, but there's like 5 different games on tomorrow that match this energy. So it's crazy. This is the best Sunday. I will say it's the best Sunday we've had since the start of NFL. This is the best Sunday slate. There's something to watch at every time slot, and that's kind of like the only game to watch at every time slot. So you won't miss a thing if you're watching football on Sunday. You'll catch everything that matters.
Mm-hmm. All right, Chris. Other than that offensive shootout, that highest scoring game ever in New York and Vegas, who's on your TV one tomorrow?
Obviously, Mo brought up a good game and all, but Ravens Seahawks for me. I think that's going to be a physical game.
Another one.
That's going to be a real physical game and all that. So definitely looking forward to that, seeing that matchup, seeing how, because I feel like we still trying to figure out the Seahawks a little bit and all that, but it's like they are 5-2, like, and you are what your record says, So I think we got to start feeling them, and they got a good, they got some good players on defense and all that, and just Pete Carroll just, I don't know, every time we count him out, man, he figures it out with these teams and all
every
that.
Time, bro. He's a guy. Yeah. He's a guy. Like, he's a dude, bro. Every time.
Because they get flack for the Jamal Adams trade and all that, because that got the Jets, Garrett Wilson and all that, but they made up for the Russell Wilson trade. So you got to give, they made up big time for that, because, they always say, like, Belichick used to do this, get rid of guys a year early rather than a year late.
Yeah.
He got rid of, and Russell, he definitely bounced back this season, but he definitely isn't the Russell Wilson that we saw, in those prime Legion of Boom years, but he replenished his team big time and all that, and they're just a physical football team on both sides of the ball. So, and then you got the Ravens too and all that. So this is gonna be but the line is kind of crazy. It's a 6-point line. The Ravens are favored by 6, this is a lot. I know they're home and all that, but I think that's a lot. But I think this is the one I'm looking forward to. It's gonna be a physical game and all that. So, and then for the Ravens, we got to see also, like, I know there's, they were trying to see if they can get a running back and all that, but in the trade deadline and all that, and so see how they, the run game, gets incorporated and all that against this Seahawks team. So that's a matchup I'm really looking forward to.
So I saw a graphic on either Twitter or Instagram that the Seahawks and Ravens are 1 and 2 respectively in every major defensive category, statistical category. Mm-hmm. They're either, the Seahawks are in 1 in like 3 of the 4, they're 2 in the 4th, and then the Ravens are 2 in 3 of the 4, and then 1st in the other one. So definitely be a good game. I think that spread comes down to quarterback play. Honestly, you look at just on paper, you look at Lamar Jackson versus Geno Smith, and you don't think that game should even really be close. The game I'm watching, outside of the Commanders, I just want to see the Commanders get destroyed in that game, so Ron Rivera can get fired Monday morning. But I'm watching the Bengals Bills because, like we touched on earlier, this is the game where we think, we keep saying the Bengals are back. But this game, I think, will solidify. If they're able to pull out this win, I think this game will solidify that they are back, and they are a legit contender. Also, my wife is a Bengals fan, so I kind of have to watch it. But I probably would have watched it anyways. I will touch on the Dallas-Philly game just because really Mo couldn't. But the fact that that's
Isn't
the
that
one
the rivalry of the week?
it is.
Oh, okay.
I let
That's why
you.
I
I
didn't
let
touch
you.
on it. That's why I
Yeah.
didn't touch on it because I was like,
It's a shame that that's the 1 o'clock or the 4 o'clock window for
it's
you.
1 o'clock for you. Yeah.
Yeah, 125 for me. I think that's a travesty. I think Monday night games should be able to be flexed because I like the Bengals Bills in on the Sunday night. I think
Yeah.
that Cowboys Eagles game should have been Monday night.
This
Because
is
a
their
Monday
first
night
matchup
game
of the year. Is first matchup or the second matchup?
First.
first.
Well, maybe the second one gets flexed because they usually have those the second divisional games towards the end of the year. No,
Yeah,
and maybe that'll get flexed. I don't know if it's a.
Yeah, I
it's a
think we'll
prime
play
time
them
game.
again when it matters. Like that game could very, very well matter. It could be for the division at that point.
Yeah, I'm about to check the schedules and all that, but let's see.
another game I'm low key looking at, and not so much because I think it's going to be a great game. More so, I think it's going to tell a lot about the two teams. Is the Vikings Falcons. Like we said, the Vikings have made a bounce back. They lost Kirk Cousins. Atlanta has officially turned to my boy Taylor Heineke, which we saw for 3 seasons, what he can do to a team, what kind of spark he can give a team. I hope he's able to do it again in Atlanta. I'd love nothing more than for him to go out there and prove that he should be a starter in this league.
I'm gonna be honest. The only thing about the Taylor Heineke shows what he does to a team bounce back is it also is very telling at who your quarterback is. Like, because I'm sorry, like Taylor Heineke ain't saving the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Lions, the Seahawks. Like, he ain't stepping in and saving them teams, the Cowboys, the Eagles. Like, he's saving those bad teams with bad quarterback play that, like, he's just slightly better, and that's all that the team needs is slightly better. Because when you really look at him, it's not like he's played his ass off. He just played better than what they had.
I agree. I'm not saying the Chiefs should cut Patrick Mahomes and go.
No. I know you're not saying that.
But,
I'm just saying it's more telling of your quarterback play when he steps in and you're like, he gave us the spark we needed, because teams that have the quarterback that don't need that spark, like there's about 12 to 14 teams that if he steps in on, like you're like, damn, we downgraded. Like there's easily 12 to 14 and then even probably more, but you're like, damn, we downgraded.
Yeah,
I feel like you look at a team like the Jets. When Aaron Rodgers goes down, I think if they would have went and traded for Taylor Heineke, I think he could have done wonders. And Zach Wilson's doing enough to keep them in the playoff race. Right now they're sitting at 4-3. But
crazy, he really has. Like he really has.
No, the defense has, and the run game definitely not Zach. He's actually
could mess it up.
He had one good drive against the Giants. That's because the Giants were incompetent in that last drive and all that. He is not any reason why this team is. It's the defense.
But they're not.
Because if they had Heineke,
in spite
I think teams you would feel so much better about the Jets. If Tyler Heineke was the backup and he's playing, you'd be like, you know what, they actually can make a run with this defense and all.
Once again,
Zach, you're like, they have no hope, even though they're 500 and 1-3. They have no hope.
4-3.
Zach Wilson,
Taylor Heineke being mid, being able to save a bad quarterback. Like, there goes another example of he's mid, which is fine because a mid quarterback can win a lot of games. We've seen it. Taylor Heineke has stepped in and won games. But it goes to tell that if you're happy about mid, you're bad. Like you have bad if you're happy about upgrading to mid. So
Mo, we will give you the floor for however long you would like.
I don't need
to talk about this game. Cowboys Eagles in Philly.
They play primetime week 14 or 15. I just saw. So that next game is primetime.
There you go. In Philly, Philly's a 3-point favorite. Currently 7-1, Cowboys 5-2. Over under is 47.5. Give us your thoughts on this game.
This is a perfect game for Dallas to be able to win. Like, if you want to beat a good team, don't solo me on here. Don't solo Mo. No, this is the perfect game for Dallas to win. Like, if you want to beat a good team, a team that hasn't been playing that well, essentially, like AJ Brown's been going crazy, but Jalen Hurts has been making mistakes. Dallas has been creating mistakes, pick sixes, capitalizing off mistakes, causing quarterbacks to throw multiple interceptions, getting turnovers, playing great on special teams. So where we've been playing strong at has been Philly's weakness. So if you want the respect and want to be taken as, I don't even want to say a Super Bowl contender, but just a team that could win the division and hell, you win this game, like you look at a possibility of like you're in the driver's seat. Possible. I don't know about the tiebreakers between Seattle and Detroit, but you possibly like you'd be in the driver's seat to possibly be the 1 seed and get a bye week, which essentially I think we could use. I would love to have a bye week, even though that just means we don't win a playoff game because we lose in the second round anyway. So it's like, hey, we got a bye week, but whatever, we're still in the second round, which is our, kryptonite. This is a game Dallas needs to win. Like, do I look at them back? Now, you can't get blown out for one. Like, if you lose and you get blown out, then we know, like, all right, you got blown out by San Fran, you got blown out by Philly. Even if you're a team, it just puts you as the same as last year. You'll probably beat anybody that you get matched up against in the first round, but them 2 teams that you have to beat to go to the Super Bowl, you can't beat, so you're no longer considered a Super Bowl contender. You're a second round exit like normal. The only reason I hate this game is because even if we win, everybody's going to pick up Dallas just for them to fall. Like, everybody, oh, damn, you got to get really excited. Y'all beat Philly, y'all this, y'all that. And it's like, yeah, but like those days of just hyping up Dallas for me is over. It's like, watch it each week. Wait till the playoffs. Yeah, we did get a great win. I expect this to be a great game, though. Like, I really expect this to be a down to the wire. And I would love nothing more than it be down to the wire. Dak Prescott down 27-24, 2.5 minutes left. He got to get the game when the drive and he gets it done. Like, that's what I want so Dak can get some respect. Like, I don't want anybody else to look good outside. Like, Dak is the guy I want to look good. Him and CeeDee Lamb looked absolutely amazing last week. Their secondary has been able to be had. So I would expect if Dallas wants some respect, Dak and CeeDee have to have that connection again. And Dak has to have a big game. No interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 280 yards in a game-winning drive, I think will put Dak back on that pedestal of like, okay, he's a good quarterback. He can win games. He can beat good teams. Like, he doesn't always do it, but he's good enough to beat some good teams, and you start looking at maybe this team is for real, but we all know. I know how it ends, so I'm not going to do that, but I'll let everybody else do that.
Dak's going to need to throw because the Eagles' run defense is pretty good, so I think it's going to fall on Dak's arms and his arms, so This is his biggest test so far this season. Like we said, we don't the 49ers game was like, it feels like it was months ago and all that.
Really
so
does, which is crazy.
It really does. It feels like it's so long ago, especially now that the 49ers have struggled. They lost 3-4 in a row and all
they
that.
Haven't won since beating us.
They haven't won since they beat you guys. But so it's gonna go on Dak. Can he be able to take advantage? And make some plays in the passing game and all that, because it's gonna be that type of game and all that. So. Big game for Dak. Big game for Dak and the Cowboys. You got to get some turnovers on Hurts because he has been a little bit turnover prone this year. We saw in that Jet game, like he played like just disgusting football and all. So we've seen him, not play as well as he did last year and all that. So if you could win the turnover battle, which you guys are top 5 in turnovers and all that. So you guys have shown even without your big ball hawk, since he went down with the ACL.
Yeah, we got another
Diggs. Yeah, and so you guys have been able to turn the ball over and all that. So if you're able to do that and Dak's be able to play mistake-free football while still be able to fling it out there, you guys definitely have a shot, against this team. But the Eagles front this is the game you got to win the trenches too, because the Eagles front, that they got that rotation on that defensive line is kind of crazy how deep they are in the defensive line.
Something tells me this is a big Brandon Cooks game. Like, this is where the trade for Brandon Cooks in the offseason pays off. Like, just some, not necessarily 150 yards, 3 touchdowns or something, but like some big plays down the field that we're used to seeing Brandon Cooks get. Like, something tells me he's the X factor offensively. They're going to hone in on CeeDee Lamb, and I think this is where Brandon Cooks eats against a secondary that can be had. I mean, we've seen it. Like, if Dak can't do it, then it's a problem because, like, no offense, but like guys that we say he's better than Sam Howell has done it. Like, Zach Wilson actually didn't look that bad against Philly. Like, that was actually one of his better games. So, like, if guys that are below you have been able to, whether they won or lost, have been able to take advantage of that secondary, and you can't, like, now you have a different conversation because you're supposed to be, I don't want to say upper echelon, but you're supposed to be head and shoulders above those guys that have done it. So, therefore, like, that's what I do think is Dak is going to have to, at the very least, we can lose this game, but Dak got to look good. We can't lose this game and Dak looks bad when you've watched Sam Howell and Zach Wilson, and no offense Sam Howell, because Sam Howell actually is pretty good, so it's not a knock. I just think Dak's better for now anyways, and so if he could do it, like, why can't you? And everybody would have every right to sit there and look. If he played bad and 2 to 3 interceptions, you'd be like, bro, Sam Howell put up 30. But kept us in the game. We had an opportunity to win with Sam. How come Dak can't do it? Like now, and I think that would be like, people wouldn't bring up the Sam Howell part of it, but they would bring up like, bro, there's been other teams that their quarterbacks aren't supposed to be as good as Dak, and they've looked pretty good offensively against Philly, and here comes Dak throwing 2 to 3 interceptions. So please, God, I hope he doesn't do that. I can't deal with Dak again. Like slander, I can't.
Sam Howell in his first game against Philly threw for 297 yards, had that game time drive at the end, and then last week threw for 397 yards. So he's averaging almost 350 yards a game against this team and a handful of touchdowns. So yes, if Sam Howell can do it, Dak Prescott should be very competent.
Yeah, like you should be able to do it. Like
no reason Dak should throw for less than 400 yards on this.
See, I'm not going to set the bar that high. I say at least 3. Like, but I know the way we run the offense, like it's more pick you apart as opposed to throwing it down to CeeDee Lamb down the field. It's more like 10 yards, 15 yards, a couple runs, this and that. Like, I don't think we stretch the field as much. But if there's an opportunity where you open up the offense, it will be this week. It will be Brandon Cooks down the field being used how he's used to being used. Michael Gallup jump ball, CeeDee Lamb coming out the slot. Like if there was 400 is a high bar though. Like I say 3. If he threw for 300, if he was 27 to 35, 305 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, like he played flawless and he played good enough to win that game.
I just feel like because that pass defense is so bad that Dak should and will take those shots. I think Mike McCarthy is going to come up with some play.
If he don't, if Mike McCarthy does not at least test the ball down the field, he's a terrible play caller. I mean, we already kind of question it anyway, but every time you raise questions about Mike McCarthy and the offense, like the Rams game happens. Like you question him and then the Rams game happens. You question him and then the Patriots game happened. Like, so it's been very up and down. Like when we think play calling is the problem, the next week they come out and Dak looks flawless. The plays look perfectly called, perfectly ran and executed. So this is the time where like that Brandon Cooks trade is supposed to pay off. Like in a game like this, send him down the field against a corner that can't guard him, let him beat him. Because this is a dude that's had 1,000 yards every year in his career. Like he's a consistent 1,000-yard guy. It's because he's a deep threat. He's been a deep threat everywhere he went. Rams, Saints, Texans. Like, so I do think this is where that trade pays off. Or should pay off. Like you look at it like, okay, maybe he's not going to get 1,000 yards with the Cowboys, but in big games, we can have him, worth trading for.
Yeah. So actually, before we get into the locks, one thing we have not talked about that you mentioned the trade deadline. I wonder you guys' like biggest trade stories.
You guys?
What?
Okay. Yeah.
Like what the hell? Like y'all or what happened? Like it was y'all.
Can we talk about that?
Like y'all traded y'all 2 defensive ends. Like y'all are the story.
2 best pass rushers. We were like, you know what? We don't need that. Let's just trade them. That's that. I don't know. Maybe one of them. I thought one of them.
Yeah, I thought it was always whoever we get the best offer for. I thought, and the other one stays. But to see Montez Sweat, like that's his name, right? Yeah, Montez Sweat.
Yeah, Montez Sweat.
To see him get traded and then turn around, he got traded first, right?
Yep, he did.
And then Chase Young turns around and 2 hours later, Chase Young is a 49er, which I'm going to be honest, that's absolutely insane. I hate San Francisco, and that also makes me hate Jerry Jones because why are you letting all these teams that are better than you get better? You let Philly get the safety from Tennessee. You let San Francisco get Chase Young, and you're just like, I love my team as he is. That's what pisses me off. But y'all were the story of the trade deadline. I mean, you traded your 2 best pass rushers with still a possibility of making the playoffs. That's kind of unprecedented. That's called tank. Have a reason to fire Ron Rivera. Move on. Get some draft capital. Whoever we bring the head coach in, we get to pitch how much draft picks we got. We got something to build off of. Sam Howell's a guy. Like that's y'all traded to have a selling point to hire a new head coach. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think the whole goal the entire time was to trade one of them. But I think
for weeks, like we knew one was gone.
Because honestly, it just comes down to just being able to pay both of them when you're already paid. Like that would be a significant. I don't know what the percentage would have been, but it would have been a significant chunk of the cap going
your
to
whole
your
defensive
entire
line is the
defensive
cap,
line.
yeah.
But the thing is, though, neither one of them and I guess for Washington, what they saw was neither one of them were going to be like max DN paid. But what they were going to be willing to pay them, they knew there was going to be at least one team that was going to pay higher. Like somebody would overpay for Chase Young or Sweat before Washington did. And so why not go ahead and end that conversation, get a draft pick? You got a pretty good second round pick for Chicago. I mean, let's pick what, 35 right now at the
minute? Right now, 37.
Yeah, okay. So at the minute, you got the 5th pick in the second round, you got first round pick, you'll have 2 third-round picks. Like, that's pretty solid if you draft right. That's pretty solid to build off of, especially if you ain't got to worry about quarterback, which I would at least assume whatever head coach comes in at least next year, you give Sam Howell, let me see if this is my guy. If not, I'm not going to get fired after a year. I get to move on, but let me not focus on quarterback and building a roster around this kid. If he's not good, guess what? I have a nicely built roster that I bring in my quarterback the next year. So you got enough draft picks to, and not having to worry about quarterback is the biggest thing of like, I'll take a second and I'll take a third.
Yeah.
2 third-round picks and a first-round pick. It could turn into a pretty damn good team over the next few years really quick.
Cruz, let me ask you this. Would it be ideal for them to get rid of Ron Rivera now to see what Eric Bieniemy can do for the rest of the season instead of possibly waiting for the season to end, firing him, and then giving Eric Bieniemy a shot next year? And then if things go sideways, then you got to fire him, like potentially, like, because that is something that could happen because you know how he is with players and all that. Would it just be smart, like, let's just get if this week goes a disaster and doesn't go the way it is, we let go of Ron, let's let EB do his thing and for the rest of the season to see if he is that guy for the next future. You know, I think that's something that they should think about instead of maybe waiting, you know, to the end of the season, then let EB be the coach. And then what if he's not the guy? Then you're gonna fire another coach, and you know, you don't want to go through that term. Like that's kind of what like I feel like the Giants are in a little bit low key. But what do you think about that?
1000%. I said that on Commanders in the chat on Thursday when me and Chris talked about it. When me and Couch Coach talked about it. I really thought Ron Rivera was going to get fired after the Chicago game because that was just complete and utter embarrassment. And that would have given Eric Bieniemy about 9 days to come up with a game plan and implement his own thing. But yes, one thing I don't want is I don't want to wait until January 8th to fire Ron Rivera and then Eric Bieniemy end up not being a head coach. Or like Mo likes to talk about guys all the time. Some people are just meant to be coordinators. I don't want to find out in year 2 or 3 of an Eric Bieniemy system regime that, yeah, this dude's just a great offensive coordinator, and that's it. He can't be a head coach. Yeah, I 100% wholeheartedly, and this is the first time ever in my life I've actually actively rooted for losses. I hope we lose. I hope it is a complete disaster. I hope we lose by 20. I hope it's just a complete embarrassment and Ron Rivera is fired Monday morning. I want to wake up to the ESPN notification saying Ron Rivera was fired. That to me would be the perfect situation to give EB the rest of the year to do something, because to me, trading your 2 best pass rushers means you're done for the season. You don't think you're sitting at 3-4 and you have an outside shot of making the playoffs. You're mathematically not out of it. But that to me is you're punting on the season. It's done. You don't think you're going to make the playoffs. You don't think you're going to make a run. So at this point, why are you keeping Ron Rivera? If you already know you're not making the playoffs, you're not going to keep Ron Rivera after this year. Because
and there's clearly like not dysfunction, but there's clearly a disconnect there with management and Ron, right? So just by these trades and all that, like they're showing like, hey, we don't think Ron's the guy. So why not just cut bait now and just let EB rock the rest of the season? And if he shows improvement with the team and all that, and listen, you're still 3-5. It's not like you're 2-7 and all that. Like there's still hope. If EB makes a run, then okay, maybe all right, then he could be the man and all that.
We
but
saw it happen.
You have to see.
Yeah, we saw it happen 2-3 years ago with the Raiders. Their interim coach got them to the playoffs. And then if that's the case, if EB's able to get us to the playoffs, then all right, clearly Eric Bieniemy is the guy. He can get you there. So now give him the full keys, let him put together his own coaching staff, let him go get a competent defensive coordinator.
And you got money because you're not investing in the quarterback. The quarterback's making no money, so you can go get pieces around him for the next 2 years while he's not being paid, and build a good team around him. Now, and especially you don't have to pay crazy money to $100 million to the defensive ends.
Yep.
Now that money, you can allocate that money to other spots that you need, and now you could build yourself a really good football team.
Exactly. As of right now, we're going into next season with $90 million in cap space
and draft
and picks,
draft
and
picks.
more picks,
and possibly more, because I think Jonathan Allen's done after this season. I think he'll request a trade if things don't turn around and this team continues to lose the way it has been. I think he'll request a trade.
We could flip him.
Oh,
that would be smart.
I've been on record saying I want to burn the building down, start from scratch. I was okay with trading anybody and everybody not named Sam Howell, including Terry. And Terry more so just because he deserves better. I think I said on Overreaction Monday, we're just like a toxic, abusive boyfriend to Terry McLaurin. We don't treat him right. We say we're going to, but then we never do.
Yeah, because
he needs to go on.
Sam Howell throw for 300-something yards, and like Terry only got like 40.
Yeah,
like Terry ain't getting fed. I know he mad. He got to be mad because he's been.
You care. The receivers care about their stats, and listen, that's at the end of the day. If you want to be considered extra money, but you want to be a Hall of Famer and all that, stats matter for wide receivers and all that. So you want those stats. That's why some receivers get mad. That's why where you get drafted is important and all that. But
they get
mad. Stats.
People be mad at wide receivers for thinking the way they do. But then when I always put it in perspective, I always say, bro, wins don't matter for wide receivers. Wide receivers not getting the tag based off of wins, bro. It's statistical stuff. That's why I thought, the first 4 weeks, that's what I was saying with the usage of CeeDee Lamb, is I was like, they don't want him to go off. They don't want him to be a 1,500-yard receiver, 10 touchdowns. That could lead to maybe going to the Super Bowl, but that also costs you $30 million a year, because the better he does, the more money you get to ask for. Now, I think you kind of to the point, hey, we got to unleash CD. We'll talk about money at the end of the season, but if we don't, we ain't going to get to the promised land. Might not anyway, but you got to give your best players the ball. And Hall of Famers, wide receivers outside of Jerry Rice, ain't none of them receivers in there for winning. They might have won, but they're not in there for winning. Jerry Rice is the greatest, but you also remember, 2 or 3 Super Bowls. Marvin Harrison won 1, but you could care less of it. You never bring up a Super Bowl with Marvin Harrison. You just bring up how great he was as a receiver. You don't talk about Super Bowls with T.O. And so, yes, receivers care about their stats because that's their moneymaker. Yeah. Catches, yards, and touchdowns is how they get their money and how they chase a gold jacket.
Yeah. Look at Andre Johnson. If Andre Johnson had a better quarterback, he'd be a slam dunk Hall of Famer already. But he's going to have to wait because he had crappy quarterback play, and that cost him because he didn't have enough touchdowns.
Played for the Lions, bro. Man. And we didn't care. We knew he was one of the greatest things ever. We did not talk about, but he doesn't win. No.
Fitzgerald, too. Look at Larry had that one playoff run where he went absolutely crazy, but they didn't win the Super Bowl, but that was their only really good year, really, really good year. But we don't talk about oh man, he only made the playoff. It's only with quarterbacks we do.
Yeah, you don't care. Your moneymaker is 3 things: catches, yards, touchdowns. That's all receivers care about, bro. They don't. I'm not saying they don't want to win a Super Bowl, but at the end of the day, you don't hang wins and losses on their head.
About your chicken, like Marshawn said.
It's about their chicken. They know, I don't have to win 15 games a year in order to go to the Hall of Fame.
That's on the quarterback.
Yeah,
that's why he gets $50 million a year, so he could take,
that's on him and the head coach. They hang those wins and losses on their head. I'm just out here.
That's the only position that those, they don't have wins and losses for wide receivers.
So we're gonna move on and actually get to the locks. Our locks and upsets of the week. Chris, since you are this is the first time in a while, I'm gonna go ahead and start with you. Give us your lock of the week.
The Jaguars are off this week, so I can't pick against them this week. Oh, there goes that. The lock of the week, I'm gonna go with. Oh no, I can't pick them. Let's go with I know this is an upset. I'm going to go with the Patriots.
Okay, I like it. I hope
Patriots
so.
over the Commanders.
Oh, your points have to be. Oh, they're actually a favorite. This I was about to say your points have to be terrible because you pick locks and upsets and you be losing. So
I
know.
risk it. I risk it.
Wow, they're favorites. That's wild.
Yeah, they're like 2
Because
weeks
it's at home.
It's in New England. Yeah, that automatic 3. So they're really it's really a pick 'em game.
Because Belichick, he's getting ready to coach his. He wants to put it on them so they can hire him because he's going to be the next coach of the Washington team. So
no,
he's
y'all
making
see
sure.
that shit?
Yeah, trading for Bill. That y'all would
Oh,
trade for Bill
God.
Belichick.
That's why you're trading your defensive end so you can stock up picks to get Belichick.
Why? He doesn't draft well.
If you're a receiver, you do not want to get drafted by Belichick. They had them to kill Harry thing. Somebody made a TikTok or something about them taking the kill Harry over AJ Brown and all that. It was hysterical.
Like he drafted Logan Mankins in like 32 overall. So like he panned out.
Tom Brady 6th round. That's the only credit he gets.
Right.
That's
the
greatest
that's
pick
going to
ever.
be my next point. He got lucky in 2000 or 99,
He passed
whatever.
on Tom 5 times too. We got to remember
He did.
that. He did pass on him 5 times. So
possibly more because I'm pretty sure he had more picks in a couple of those.
He probably
rounds.
had like 87 picks. He was going to get fired.
It's not like we sit here and be like, oh man, he was so high on him. Like, no, he went 5 rounds without picking him.
Right.
Like he did wait.
And other teams fumbled. Like the 49ers had Tom Brady like right there. They could have took him. They took Carmazzi, whatever that guy's name is, and like
All right, Mo, who's your lock?
I'm cheating this week. Saints over the Bears.
See,
they're not double digits, and I never do this. I don't usually do this, but I'm
not fair because I every week I take chances on 3-point fate or underdogs as my locks. And you guys just let me take the 9.5 point favorite.
Guess what, Chris?
It's garbage.
Me and Rob are at the top of the standings for it, playing it safe.
Garbage. You know what?
I took a chance last week and it bit me in the ass, and I'm not doing that shit again.
Yeah, I didn't take a chance last week. I rolled with who I rolled with. 2-0 last week.
My lock. Do I want to take a chance? No, I don't. Now they're double. That's double digits. I'm gonna go Cincinnati over Buffalo. I'm not completely sold on the Bills this season.
That's a good one.
That is a ballsy lock. I know they're favorite. That's a ballsy one.
It's in Cincinnati.
That's a stay away from the game for me.
Hopefully nobody dies this time because whoever dies on the
field. Oh, yeah, because Mo doesn't like that.
Mo's gonna drag him through the mud a second time.
Come back player of the year. It's gonna be Aaron Rodgers and all that. So that the guy who literally died on the field, they canceled the game. They ruined fantasy people's championship games and all that. But like, nah, Aaron Rodgers, if he comes back, he's player of the year. You know, the guy he died on the freaking field. And Mo's like, no, that's not good enough. I need you to come back from an Achilles. Come back the same season. You would come back player of the year. Mo just
people come back from. People get revived all the time.
People get revived all the time, but Achilles, nobody comes back from that. Death, nah. Everybody comes back from death. But Achilles, nah. Nobody comes back from that.
I'm not falling into the bait. I'm not falling into the bait.
Yo, he's a bum. That's why he's inactive because he sucks.
Upset to the week, Rob. Upset to the week, Rob.
Y'all trying to take some ayahuasca.
Happy to be on the field, and Mo's like, "Nah, that's not good enough. He's trash."
If he took some ayahuasca, he wouldn't have died to begin with.
God,
he needs to listen to more Joe Rogan. That's his problem.
If he was on Joe Rogan, yeah, I think I would do it. But nah, he's not. So no comeback play for him. Give me the
Mo. Who's your lock?
I already said my lock was the Saints.
I'm sorry, you're upset.
You're upset.
I'm riding with my boys 2 weeks in a row. Dallas over Philly. Got to. I'm gonna be watching that game, hoping Dallas wins anyway. I will take a loss this week by riding with we upset Philadelphia. In Philly, and Philly fans are gonna cry. Oh, the Philly Eagles Twitter is gonna go absolutely insane.
Philly Twitter is fucking insane.
I can't wait.
They are mentally unstable.
Forget about Twitter. Just Philly people in general.
But you give them an avatar behind a keyboard. You talk about Twitter fingers.
Yeah,
Philly fans are mentally unstable.
They're going to be really mentally unstable when Sunday night they are obliterated, drunk, and have to wake up hungover on Monday knowing that they lost to Dallas in Philly.
Like even in a win last week, a lot of people on Commanders Twitter was getting death threats because of whatever the fuck she said. And it wasn't even really directly about it. It was more so like, hey, I know this isn't a moral victory, but we still played well, blah blah blah. And someone was like, "Oh, I'll end you."
Like, go kill yourself.
Yeah.
More victories around. Go kill yourself. Like, hey, I'm proud of my team playing really well and fighting hard. Go kill yourself. And
Go
if you
die.
don't, I will. Like, that's crazy.
Oh, it was insane. All right, Chris, who's your upset?
My upset of the week is Seattle.
You should have picked Danny DeVito or whatever his name is.
Oh, Danny Dimes is quarterbacking this week. You know what? Change it. You know what, Mo? You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm going to go with the Giants with the upset.
You taking Olive Garden?
Gonna go because you got Daniel Jones coming back. Andrew Thomas is back. I don't know if it's a good thing, but Harry's Neil's back.
Your world beater team right there. There goes.
We start the run.
Oh shit!
Start the run to the division title because you guys are gonna tie with the Eagles, so that means you're gonna get a little bit closer. I'm gonna rock with them again. I'm gonna take a chance on them because I should have won last week. I should have been 2-0 last week, but of course our kicker had his knee was broken, and they decided to let him kick. We threw we had more missed kicks than completions. Danny DeVito did not get the job done. How you let first of all,
that's really not even his name. That's like some actor's name.
Well, that might as well be his name because he played small. Because he was how do you go into a football game with your knowing your backup? You don't trust your backup quarterback. This is why I'm saying quarterback teams not taking quarterback play serious. Because how many backups are in the league right now? They were like, how is he a backup? Your backup option if your starter gets hurt, and we went in there and be like, you know what? Danny DeVito's our backup quarterback, and we're going to be cool with this because Tyrod Taylor's been has always been healthy, right? So there's nothing ever going to happen. I didn't even know who the backup was. I forgot that we had him, and I'm like, oh my, a 25-year-old rookie quarterback, and you're like, oh yeah, this is we feel good going into this week. How I don't get, and that it costs you a chance to win a game and be 3-5 and maybe have hope.
I remember having this conversation about Ben DiNucci in 2020.
Yeah,
there's all these quarterbacks with Olive Garden ass names.
That's how we have the most perfect Jersey backup quarterback, DeVito. What's his Mike DeVito? That's the most New Jersey Italian. Tommy DeVito is the most Italian Jersey name possible. That's Sopranos. Like if you said, "Yo, Tommy DeVito was in the Sopranos," you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I remember him. I believe that."
Yeah, it's the same thing though. When Dallas went in, okay, we knew Dak was out, so you got Andy Dalton, sure. But then you walk back, you're like, yeah, but if Andy Dalton does get hurt, Ben DiNucci, perfect guy.
You should have 3 quarterbacks, and you should always have those are the 3 most important positions on your team.
But there's not enough good quarterbacks for every team to be 3 deep. Where obviously your one won't touch your starter.
I know, but you should take it. I mean, but if your starter's hurt, right, and he's been hurt for weeks, and your backup is shown he's injury prone, you should have some type of somebody should be
there's no.
I know the payroll. I know certain quarterbacks want.
You were on your backup. You were already on your backup.
So now your season's really over. It's really over now.
There's not a lot of Jacoby Brissett and Cooper Rushes that can win you some games. There's not a lot of them there. Let alone you go to the third option. Who's the Commander's third?
That should be a developmental guy. That guy is just a guy.
You don't even have one. And then if Sam Howell gets hurt and Jacoby Brissett step in and you bring in a backup quarterback, it's going to be some dude off the street, or you're going to be
So
Chad Henne off the retirement.
We would elevate Jake Fromm from the practice squad.
Oh, Jesus.
Giants legend. He started the game. That really went well.
Jake Fromm looked good in the preseason, though.
Oh,
he belongs in CBS. He belongs in CBS doing the Georgia games. He doesn't belong in the NFL.
Kenny Pickett looked like an all-pro quarterback in preseason. Now look at Steelers offense. So.
And he wears 2 gloves, so we know he was going to be trash. So it's just not allowed. Only Kurt Warner could get away with that.
But also, to Chris's point, when your backup quarterback is Tyrod Taylor, who literally gets hurt anytime he steps on the
injuries,
field,
right? It's catastrophic. He doesn't just a sprained ankle. It's near death. He almost died.
When you have the training staff trying to kill you,
he got a punctured lung, right? He got landed on, and now you hear he just went. They rushed him right to the hospital. I'm like, what the hell? What? He's in the hospital already. Like, I'm like, oh my god! And who's our
When
back?
that's your backup quarterback, you need a better plan than the tour of Italy from Olive Garden.
They should have just ran Wildcat with Saquon. I would have had a better shot to win the game.
Would have had more passing yards.
Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito couldn't even on bubble screens. He couldn't throw. This man literally could not throw. Like, it's like, and listen, they complained about the weather. It wasn't as bad as they say. Oh, it was not monsoon like conditions. It was a little rain. You could still throw the football if you had a competent quarterback. It was not torrential. It wasn't. It was nasty, but it wasn't like monsoon like
yard.
it wasn't like that. So it was like you could still throw the ball. And they said, no, we're not going to throw the ball at all in the second half. And then they kicked it off. And then they kicked it off.
Hey, Chris, Ohio State got
Yeah. So real quick, Off the Ball Network promo code over at SeatGeek. You're trying to go one of the games this weekend. Baseball's over, but
take your quarterback situations more serious, teams. Unacceptable.
Off the Ball Network promo code all caps. We'll see you guys later on. We'll hope to see you guys Sunday.